Let's now shift focus to the big focus story of this evening. The Kozhikode Sessions Court in Kerala granted anticipatory bail to writer and social activist Civic Chandran in a case registered against him for allegedly attempting to molest a Dalit woman writer. Judge S. Krishnakumar granted bail to Chandran on various grounds, such as his old age, his health condition marked by inability to stand straight, and the unsatisfactory explanation of the victim for the long delay in filing a complaint at the police station. But there is something more. Let me go across to my colleague Pooja, who joins me from the Mumbai newsroom, to take us through exactly on what grounds were cited for granting bail. Pooja, over to you.
Afrida, a very archaic, a very controversial, rather a very problematic, sexist and outrageous observation by the Kerala Sessions Court here. And remember, here we are talking about a sexual harassment case, and this is in terms of the court granting anticipatory bail to a poet, a social activist by the name Civic Chandran. Now, what the court goes on to observe is absolutely problematic is that the onus completely lies on the victim, the survivor here, because, pertinent to note that while applying for the bail plea, the perpetrator here, who was Civic Chandran, the poet, had actually furnished the photographs of the survivor as well, following which the court went on to observe that the survivor was wearing really problematic, sexually provocative, that's the term that the court goes on to use, that the survivor was wearing in fact sexually provocative clothes, following which the court said that the bail must be granted to the 74-year-old writer. It in fact also went on to state that keeping in mind the age of the writer, it is impossible for somebody who's physically disabled like him to have initiated such an action against a woman. And in fact, not just that, the court also goes on to put the onus on the survivor here, saying that why was the FIR in fact filed after 2 long years. So, long story cut short, the court ultimately putting the complete onus on the survivor definitely triggers a lot of imperative questions.
Absolutely, Pooja. And those are the questions we will ask. Thanks for taking us through the details. Thanks, Pooja, for joining us. Let me now introduce our panelists on the program. Lalita Kumaramangalam, former chief of the NCW, also Deepika Bharadwaj, a women rights activist, with us here on the program. Good evening to the two ladies. Thanks for joining us. Lalita Kumaramangalam, I'll come to you with a very important question on this order, but let's quickly listen in first to Swati Maliwal, the chief of the Delhi Commission of Women, who has reacted to this issue.
मीडिया रिपोर्ट्स के मुताबिक केरल के एक कोर्ट ने ये कहा है कि यौन शोषण की कंप्लेंट मान्य नहीं होगी अगर लड़की ने उत्तेजित करने वाले कपड़े पहने हो, सेक्सुअली प्रोवोकेटिव कपड़े पहने हो। हद होती है, अगर जज ये बात बोलेंगे तो एक आम इंसान क्या भाषा बोलेगा। मुझे एक बात बताइए, एक 8 महीने की बच्ची के साथ दिल्ली में बलात्कार हुआ था, उसने एक छोटा सा फ्रॉक पहना था, क्या उसके कपड़े भी उत्तेजित करने वाले थे? कौन निर्णय लेगा कि कौन से कपड़े उत्तेजित करते हैं और कौन से कपड़े सभ्य हैं? मेरे हिसाब से ये जो मानसिकता है हमारे देश में, जो पीड़िता है उसी को ब्लेम करती है, उसके साथ जो भी यौन शोषण होता है, ये बंद होनी चाहिए। मैं अपील करती हूँ केरला हाईकोर्ट से कि इस मामले में तुरंत संज्ञान लें और तुरंत कुछ एक्शन करवाएं।
Lalita Kumaramangalam, do you agree largely with what you just heard? Instead of questioning the accused, the court is questioning the morality of the complainant, of the alleged victim. And what exactly is the connection between the alleged victim's dressing sense, her outfit, and the action of the accused? Does it give anybody the right to molest her based on that?
No, I agree 150% with Swati Maliwalji on this. And I've been saying this for many years, that sexual abuse, and actually sexual abuse has nothing to do with age. If you take some of the cases that we have seen in the various commissions throughout the country, women as young as Swati said, 8 months old, little girls, up to the age of 50, 60, 70 years old have been raped by men who are also over 70, 75 years like that. Age is no bar, it seems to be, to the continuing patriarchal abuse of women in this country. I am extremely disappointed and extremely angry that a judge sitting in a high court of Kerala, which is supposed to have the highest education rates in the country, etc., has made a statement where he says the woman was dressed sexually provocatively. So what? Even if she was, and I'm not judging anybody, I don't judge people by the way they dress. I judge people by the way they think and the way they act. Now, even if she was dressed in what somebody considers provocative, the girl is giving you, I mean, you could just molest her when you feel like it. That's not how the law in this country should work. And it's very easy to say that, you know, I found her very provocative, so I was forced into it. What sort of man is this? He's, I mean, he has no self-control. He has no respect for women.
And you must
just
know
because
this, there are
age-
two cases, not one. Here is a
I know,
person who's
and
a
I was
repeat
just going to say
offender.
that.
In the
There's
first
another
case, he's
girl
got
who
bail. There's
also
another
said-
case of similar
Yes,
nature
another
against him.
case.
Yes.
And the whole thing about delay, I don't think men sitting in these positions even know what sexual molestation of any kind, whether it
Yes.
is, what it does to a woman. And if a court can turn down this, imagine what future this poor girl is going to face. The first thing everybody will say is that she's bad character. I'm not using, you know, strong words because this is nationally televised program, but imagine what they'll say. Oh, she dresses like this. Oh, she has a boyfriend. Oh, she's bad character. That's the next thing they'll say. So all women, are just
The
blamed
order
for
even says the
abuse.
complainant is seeking revenge. The complainant wants to settle scores. It's like the court is providing cover fire for somebody
So can
who
I say
is an
something here? If a
alleged
woman
aggressor
has
and
been
abuser.
abused,
Yes.
No, if a woman has been abused, why should she not seek justice? And if they call justice revenge, then these milords, they're not fit to sit in the courts. I'm sorry to
Absolutely.
have to
Hugely
say something like this.
disappointing in that
yeah,
sense.
It's
Absolutely.
ridiculous. It's
Right.
unjust, and I'm sure it's also illegal.
Yes,
Just
I'm
because he's a
sure. I
judge,
mean,
it
you know,
doesn't
one
mean
can
that,
always
everything he
argue
says is,
that you can appeal in a higher court. But the fact of the matter is, Deepika Bharadwaj, look at the kind of ordeal that the woman is made to go through, even to go to another court to repeatedly appeal her case. Again, unsure what the next judge will say. How damaging do you think this is? Because court orders, as we all know, become precedents. And this one is a dangerous precedent.
I am appalled at the lack of legal knowledge of everyone on this panel. Let me first say that. Ma'am, Afrida, first of all, this is a lower court judgment. This is not a high court judgment. Lower court judgments do not become a precedent. Second, I think media has completely brainwashed people on what the judgment never said. What the judge said was that the charge is of 354A, which requires physical contact, and there was no physical contact. And the line which is problematic, which is being read individually as, you know, if a woman wears sexually provocative clothes, then, you know, prima facie, there's no case of sexual molestation or harassment. That is not what the court said. Let me read what the court said. The court said the photograph produced along with the bail application by the accused would reveal that the de facto complainant herself is exposing to dresses which are having some sexually provocative one. So section 354A will not prima facie stand against the accused, because before this line, the court has said that the criminal offense requires physical contact. It continues after this line. It does not end at this line. It continues after this line, saying, even admitting that there was a physical contact, it is impossible to believe that a man having aged 74 and physically disabled can forcefully put the de facto complainant in his lap and sexually molest her. Now, let's please admit the fact that there are allegations in a criminal offense, and then there is defense as well. Afrida, anybody can put any allegation against you. You do not become the perpetrator only on basis of allegation and, you know, call somebody a survivor who has filed an allegation against you. The court has said, the court has granted anticipatory bail. It is very much a legal provision which is available to any man, woman, anyone who is accused of a criminal offense. The case has been filed after 2 years. There was a boyfriend right there at the party. There were several people.
Of the view, Deepika, that you support this kind of an observation. I would say it's hugely dangerous, at least in terms of the fact that why would women even report such crimes? It's such a deterrent. And you are saying this will not set a precedent. I was not saying that in judicial terms. It does set a precedent in the minds of women who think that if we report a crime like this, we will be shamed and we will be blamed. Let Lalita Kumaramangalam come in, please. I heard you out, Deepika Bharadwaj. Lalita ji, please go ahead.
I want to make 2 quick points. One, that force need not necessarily always be physical. In issues of molestation or sexual abuse or financial abuse or any sort of abuse of women in this country and throughout the world, force exerted is not just physical. It is more often than not socio-cultural, familial, financial, etc., etc. And just because a complaint was filed 2 years after the incident happened, it does not mean that in any way the severity or the abuse or the trauma that is suffered by the girl who has made the complaint, the lady, is any less. Please understand.
Mangalam, Deepika is arguing that this is a judicial process and every man has a right to get anticipatory bail. How do you respond to that?
The person has not been freed.
A statement like that by a judge. Everybody goes to the trial court first. Ma'am, I'm from a legal family. Everybody goes to the trial court first.
There is a
If a trial court judge makes
Let's hear out each other, please. Deepika Bharadwaj, just hold on. Let Lalita ji complete. I'll come back to you.
I'm saying that even if a trial court judge makes such a statement, it will be repeated again and again, at the very least in the defenses given by people who have or may have committed such a crime or who are accused of committing such a crime. So the precedent does not always have to be only in the judgment given by a judge of a court, regardless of the level of the court.
Yes.
It is often also taken from the text, or used in the text of those who have been accused of a crime against women or against children. I mean, that's par for the course. So
and also, isn't there an inherent contradiction, Deepika Bharadwaj? On one hand, you are saying that she was wearing sexually provocative clothes, almost, lending credence to she was asking for it, which is a hugely regressive, misogynist mindset. And also saying that he is not capable of molesting. I mean, one has to decide which one is it.
The entire flow of event is what you're not trying to understand. The allegations are that there was force that was used. Now, let me tell you one thing. 2 months before, there was a Mumbai court who has punished a man for 1 year of jail for pulling a woman's hand without her consent. So please, let's not say that, this one judgment is going to completely undo all the justice or the criminal process that courts go through. Second, what Lalita ma'am has not completely understood is the nature of allegations. The court is going to look at the allegations. The court is not going to look at what kind of sexual harassment can be there of women. Of course, force does not need to be there in sexual harassment.
The grounds based on which the bail was granted to say that the woman is wearing sexually provocative clothes is simply not acceptable. And that is a subjective matter. It can give any, a sexual predator an excuse. Everybody will be absolved if you go by these grounds. If you go by the ground of age, who is to say an old man is not capable? We know how many instances have happened in the Me Too movement.
Exactly.
We know what happened with MJ Akbar and Priya Ramani. I mean, these are not valid grounds to grant bail. The crime is clearly that of a sexual predator who thinks he's entitled to behaving in an aggressive manner. There's not one but 2 cases against him. The lady here was dehumanized. Her bodily integrity was violated. That is the case in court. Of course, it's not proven. We have to follow the judicial process. Unfortunately, completely out of time. Deepika Bharadwaj and Lalita Kumaramangalam, thank you so much for joining us today.